Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And actually, the goal of life is to get a taste for hearing about Krishna. Because if you could get a taste for hearing about Krishna, then automatically the taste for doing things that cause degradation of the soul and suffering and confusion and all these things, it automatically gets taken care of without separate endeavor. So I was just talking to Jair, and we were saying how, there's all the professions are going on, the world's going on, but so few men and women are actually giving spiritual education. So few. It's very lamentable situation. But anyway, let's not lament, because we're here together with assembled Vaishnavas to hear about Krishna and get a taste for hearing about Krishna. So with that and welcome all of you out there in cyberspace. Just to give you a little preview of coming attractions, tomorrow we will be reading at 4:30. The next day, Sunday, I'm traveling to the UK, and I'll probably be leaving here a little before or right about the time where we normally read. So there won't be a reading tomorrow. And then the next day, which is Monday.
There won't be reading on Sunday?
Sunday, no reading. But Monday, I'll be reading in the UK, probably at the same time, 6 o'clock, which here means 12 o'clock. 6 hours difference. Those are the only days I miss, when I'm on a long haul flight and I don't have a connection that I can do it with. All right. So with that, we'll move on. It's very good to see you too, Shweta-dweep. Missed you. And Rasika is doing fantastic. Did you know about that?
Yeah,
how good he's doing?
I'm very happy about it.
Keeping in track. He's studying and he's doing really good. Don't think we're not taking notes. Okay. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatan Goswami. From the Sri Krishna Lila Staba, texts 412 to 416. Sanatan Goswami was the chief or senior disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Chaitanya spent more time, physical time, teaching him than anyone else on the planet. And therefore, this is one of the things that was a result, this prayer, glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And it goes like this. Sarvashastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidwan Doditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Manistadagamad Manananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun chakadachin mam premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay. We've reached the 10th chapter. Yes. We reached the 10th chapter of the 10th canto. We just heard how Mother Yashoda, after a great deal of struggle, was able to bind Krishna. She couldn't bind him until he allowed her to. And now we're going to see what happened next. Chapter 10, Deliverance of the Yamala-arjuna trees. This chapter describes how Krishna broke the twin Arjuna trees from which Nalakuvara and Manigriva, the sons of Kuvera, then came out. Nalakuvara and Manigriva were great devotees of Lord Shiva, but because of material opulence, they became so extravagant and senseless that one day they were enjoying with naked girls in a lake and shamelessly walking here and there. Suddenly, Narada Muni passed by, but they were so maddened by their wealth and false prestige that even though they saw Narada Muni present, they remained naked and were not even ashamed. In other words, because of opulence and false prestige, they lost their sense of common decency. Of course, it is the nature of the material qualities that when one becomes very much opulent in terms of wealth and a prestigious position, one loses one's sense of etiquette and does not care about anyone, even a sage like Narada Muni. For such bewildered persons, ahankara vimudatma, who especially deride devotees, the proper punishment is to be again stricken with poverty. The Vedic rules and regulations prescribe how to control the false sense of prestige, and by the practice of yama, niyama, and so on, tapasa, brahmacharyena, shamena, samena, damena cha. A poor man can be convinced very easily that the prestige of an opulent position in this material world is temporary, but a rich man cannot. Therefore, Narada Muni set an example by cursing these two persons, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, to become dull and unconscious like trees. This was a fit punishment. But because Krishna is always merciful, even though they were punished, they were fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Therefore, the punishment given by Vaishnavas is not at all punishment. Rather, it is another kind of mercy. By the curse of the Devarshi, Nalakuvara and Manigriva became twin Arjuna trees and remained in the courtyard of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, waiting for the opportunity to see Krishna directly. Lord Krishna, by the desire of his devotee, uprooted these Yamala-arjuna trees, and when Nalakuvara and Manigriva were thus delivered by Krishna after 100 years of the Devas, their old consciousness revived, and they offered Krishna prayers suitable to be offered by demigods. Having thus gotten the opportunity to see Krishna face to face, they understood how merciful Narada Muni was, and therefore they expressed their indebtedness to him and thanked him. Then, after circumambulating the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, they departed for their respective abodes. Text 1. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, O great and powerful saint, what was the cause of Nalukuvaras and Manigrivas having been cursed by Narada Muni? What did they do that was so abominable that even Narada, the great sage, became angry at them? Kindly describe this to me. Text 2 and 3. Shukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, because the two sons of Kuvera had been elevated to the association of Lord Shiva, of which they were very much proud, they were allowed to wander in a garden attached to Kailas Hill on the bank of the Mandakini river. Taking advantage of this, they used to drink a kind of liquor called Varuni, accompanied by women singing after them. They would wander in that garden of flowers, their eyes always rolling in intoxication. Purport. This verse mentions some of the material advantages offered to persons associated with or devoted to Lord Shiva. Apart from Lord Shiva, if one is a devotee of any other demigod, one receives some material advantages. Foolish people therefore become devotees of demigods. This has been pointed out and criticized by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamaistaistaya Rittagyana Prapadyantain Yadevata. Those who are not devotees of Krishna have a taste for women, wine, and so forth, and therefore they have been described as Rittagyana, bereft of sense. The Krishna consciousness movement can very easily point out such foolish persons because they have been indicated in Bhagavad Gita 7:15, where Lord Krishna says, Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradamaha mayaya paritagyana asuram bhavamashritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Anyone who is not a devotee of Krishna and does not surrender to Krishna must be considered Naradama, the lowest of men, and Duskriti, one who always commits sinful activities. Thus there is no difficulty in finding out who is a third-class or fourth-class man, for one's position can be understood simply by this crucial test. Is he or is he not a devotee of Krishna? Why are devotees of the demigods greater in number than the Vaishnavas? The answer is given herein. Vaishnavas are not interested in such fourth-class pleasures as wine and women, nor does Krishna allow them such facilities. Text 4. Within the waters of the Mandakini, Ganges, which were crowded with gardens of lotus flowers, the two sons of Kuvera would enjoy young girls just like two male elephants enjoying in the water with female elephants. Purport. People generally go to the Ganges to be purified of the effects of sinful life. But here is an example of how foolish persons enter the Ganges to become involved in sinful life. It is not that everyone becomes purified by entering the Ganges. Everything spiritual and material depends on one's mental condition. Shall I read that again? You wouldn't mind? Okay. All right. It is not that everyone becomes purified by entering the Ganges. Everything, spiritual and material, depends on one's mental condition. Text 5. O Maharaj Parikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarshi Narada once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Purport. It is said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Madhya-lila 22:54. Wherever Narada Muni goes, any moment at which he appears is understood to be extremely auspicious. It is also said, Brahmanda Brahmiti Konya Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Poy Bhakti Lata Bij. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. C.C. Madhya 19:151. Narada appeared in the garden to give the two sons of Kuvera the seed of devotional service, even though they were intoxicated. Saintly persons know how to bestow mercy upon the fallen souls. Text 6. Upon seeing Narada, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments. But the two sons of Kubera did not do so. Instead, not caring about Narada, they remained naked. Text 7. Seeing the two sons of the demigods naked and intoxicated by opulence and false prestige, Devarshi Narada, in order to show them special mercy, desired to give them a special curse. Thus he spoke as follows. Purport. Although in the beginning Narada Muni appeared very angry and cursed them, at the end, the two demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, face to face. Thus the curse was ultimately auspicious and brilliant. One has to judge what kind of curse Narada placed upon them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives herein a good example. When a father finds his child deeply asleep, but the child has to take some medicine to cure some disease, the father pinches the child so that the child will get up and take the medicine. In a similar way, Narada Muni cursed Nalakuvara and Manigriva in order to cure their disease of material blindness. Text 8. Narada Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, or being learned. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. Purport. Among the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, people are certainly conducted by the lower qualities, namely passion and ignorance, and especially by passion. Conducted by the mode of passion, one becomes more and more involved in material existence. Therefore, human life is meant for subduing the mode of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalo badayaschaye cheta etar anavidam stitam satve prasidati. Bhagavatam 1:2-19. This is culture. One must subdue the modes of passion and ignorance. In the mode of passion, when one is falsely proud of wealth, one engages his wealth only for three things, namely wine, women, and gambling. We can actually see, especially in this age, that those who have unnecessary riches simply try to enjoy these three things. In Western civilization, these three things are very prominent because of an unnecessary increase of wealth. Narada Muni considered all this in the case of Manigriva and Nalakuvara because he found in them so much pride in the wealth of their father, Kuvera. Text 9. Unable to control their senses, rascals who were falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families are so cruel that to maintain their perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion. You know, there's a personality who was actually elevated to the position of running for Vice President of the United States. You know what her sport was? Yeah. From a helicopter, she would shoot moose. From a helicopter. The most merciless thing you could do. No chance for them. I mean, one thing to go on that ground and go through the 40 foot, but from a helicopter. High-powered. Needless to say, she didn't get elected. Purport. When the modes of passion and ignorance increase in human society, giving rise to unnecessary economic development, the result is that people become involved with wine, women, and gambling. Then, being mad, they maintain big slaughterhouses or occasionally go on pleasure excursions to kill animals. Forgetting that, however, one may try to maintain the body. The body is subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Such foolish rascals engage in sinful activities, one after another. Being duskritis, they completely forget the existence of the Supreme Controller, who is sitting within the core of everyone's heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddhasharjuna tishtati. That Supreme Controller is observing every bit of one's activity, and he rewards or punishes everyone by giving one a suitable body made by material nature. Brahmayam sarvabhutani yantrarudani mayaya. In this way, sinful persons automatically receive punishment in different types of bodies. The root cause of this punishment is that when one unnecessarily accumulates wealth, one becomes more and more degraded, not knowing that his wealth will be finished with his next birth. Nasadu manye yata atmano yam asan apiklesha da asa deha. Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Animal killing is prohibited. Every living being, of course, has to eat something. Jivo jivasya jivanam. But one should be taught what kind of food one should take. Therefore the Ishopanishad instructs, Tena tyaktena bunjita. One should eat whatever is allotted for human beings. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya priyachtati tadaham bhaktya paritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. A devotee therefore does not eat anything that would require slaughterhouses for poor animals. Rather, devotees take prasad of Krishna. Tena tyaktena bunjitaha. Krishna recommends that one give him patram, pushpam, palam toyam, a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water. Animal food is never recommended for human beings. Instead, a human being is recommended to take prasad, remnants of food left by Krishna. Yagyashishta senaksanto muchante sabakil bishahi. Bhagavad Gita 3.13. If one practices eating prasad, even if there is some little sinful activity involved, one becomes free from the results of sinful acts. Text 10. While living, one may be proud of one's body, thinking oneself a very big man, minister, president, or even demigod. But whatever one may be, after death, this body will turn either into worms, into stool, or into ashes. If one kills poor animals to satisfy the temporary whims of this body, one does not know that he will suffer in his next birth. For such a sinful miscreant must go to hell and suffer the results of his actions. Purport. In this verse, the three words krimi vid bhasma are significant. After death, the body may become krimi, which means worms, for if the body is disposed of without cremation, it may be eaten by worms, or else it may be eaten by animals like hogs and vultures, and turned into stool. Those who are more civilized burn the dead body, and thus it becomes ashes, bhasma, sangitam. Yet although the body will be turned into worm, stool, or ashes, foolish persons, just to maintain it, commit many sinful activities. This is certainly regrettable. The human form of body is actually meant for jivasya tattva jigyasa, enlightenment and knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, one must seek shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Tasmat gurum prapadyeta. One must approach a guru. Who is a guru? Shabde pare sanishnatam. Bhagavatam 11.3.21. A guru is one who has full transcendental knowledge. Unless one approaches a spiritual master, one remains in ignorance. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, Chandogya Upanishad 6.14.2. One has full knowledge about life when one is Acharyavan, controlled by the Acharya. But when one is conducted by Rajagun and Tamagun, one does not care about anything. Instead, one acts like an ordinary, foolish animal, risking his life, mrityu, samsara, vartmani, and therefore continuing to go through suffering after suffering. Nate vidu svartakatim hi vishnum, Bhagavatam 7.5.31. Such a foolish person does not know how to elevate himself in this body. Instead, he indulges in sinful activities and goes deeper and deeper into hellish life. Text 11. While alive, does this body belong to its employer, to the self, to the father, the mother, or the mother's father? Does it belong to the person who takes it away by force, to the slave master who purchases it, or to the sons who burn it in the fire? Or, if the body is not burned, does it belong to the dogs that eat it? Among the many possible claimants, who is the rightful claimant? Not to ascertain this, but instead to maintain the body by sinful activities is not good. Text 12. This body, after all, is produced by the unmanifested nature, and again annihilated and merged in the natural elements. Therefore, it is the common property of everyone. Under the circumstances, who but a rascal claims this property as his own, and while maintaining it, commits such sinful activities as killing animals just to satisfy his whims? Unless one is a rascal, one cannot commit such sinful activities. I mean, there's nobody on the earth that's speaking like this, so straightforward, clear. Purport. Atheists do not believe in the existence of the soul. Nonetheless, unless one is very cruel, why should one kill animals unnecessarily? The body is a manifestation of a combination of matter. In the beginning it was nothing, but by a combination of matter it has come into existence. Then again, when the combination is dismantled, the body will no longer exist. In the beginning it was nothing, and in the end it will be nothing. Why then should one commit sinful activities when it is manifested? It is not possible for anyone to do this unless he is a rascal number one. Prabhupada, straight talk, right? Straight talk. 13. Atheistic fools and rascals who are very much proud of wealth fail to see things as they are. Therefore, returning them to poverty is the proper ointment for their eyes, so they may see things as they are. At least a poverty-stricken man can realize how painful poverty is, and therefore he will not want others to be in a painful condition like his own. That's the golden rule of Christianity, right there. Purport. Even today, if a man who was formerly poverty-stricken gets money, he is inclined to utilize his money to perform many philanthropic activities, like opening schools for uneducated men and hospitals for the diseased. In this connection, there is an instructive story called Punar Mushiko Bhava. Again, become a mouse. A mouse was very much harassed by a cat, and therefore the mouse approached a saintly person to request to become a cat. When the mouse became a cat, he was harassed by a dog, and then when he became a dog, he was harassed by a tiger. But when he became a tiger, he stared at the saintly person, and when the saintly person asked him, "What do you want?" the tiger said, "I want to eat you." Then the saintly person cursed him, saying, "Punar Mushika Baba, again become a mouse. May you again become a mouse." A similar thing is going on all over the universe. One is going up and down, sometimes becoming a mouse, sometimes a tiger, and so on. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Brahmanda Brahmite kon bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasadi poi bhakti lata bij." Madhya Lila, 19:151. The living entities are promoted and degraded by the laws of nature, but if one is very, very fortunate, by association with saintly persons, he gets the seed of devotional service, and his life becomes successful. Narada Muni wanted to bring Nalakubara and Manigriva to the platform of devotional service through poverty, and thus he cursed them. Such is the mercy of a Vaishnava. Unless one is brought to the Vaishnava platform, he cannot be a good man. Harawa bhaktasya kuto mahadguna, Bhagavatam 5:18-12. An avaishnava never becomes a good man, however severely he is punished. Text 14. By seeing their faces, one whose body has been pricked by pins can understand the pain of others who are pinpricked. Realizing that this pain is the same for everyone, he does not want others to suffer in this way. But one who has never been pricked by pins cannot understand this pain. Purport. There is a saying, "The happiness of wealth is enjoyable by a person who has tasted the distress of poverty." There is also another common saying, "Bandya ki bujhibe pasava vedana." A woman who has not given birth to a child cannot understand the pain of childbirth. Unless one comes to the platform of actual experience, one cannot realize what is pain and what is happiness in this material world. The laws of nature act accordingly. If one has killed an animal, one must himself be killed by that same animal. This is called mangsa. Mam means me, and sa means he. As I am eating an animal, that animal will have the opportunity to eat me. In every state, therefore, it is ordinarily the custom that if a person commits murder, he is hanged. Text 15. A poverty-stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penances because he does not have the wealth to possess anything. Thus his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego. Purport. A saintly person voluntarily accepts a state of poverty just to become free from material false prestige. Many great kings left their princely standard of living and went to the forest to practice austerity according to Vedic culture, just to become purified. But if one who cannot voluntarily accept such austerity is put into a situation of poverty, he automatically must practice austerity. Austerity is good for everyone because it frees one from material conditions. Therefore, if one is very much proud of his material position, putting him into poverty is the best way to rectify his foolishness. Daridya dosho guna rashi nashi. When a person is poverty-stricken, naturally his false pride in aristocracy, wealth, education, and beauty is smashed. Thus corrected, he is in the right position for liberation. 16. Always hungry, longing for sufficient food, a poverty-stricken man gradually becomes weaker and weaker. Having no extra potency, his senses are automatically pacified. A poverty-stricken man, therefore, is unable to perform harmful, envious activities. In other words, such a man automatically gains the results of the austerities and penances adopted voluntarily by saintly persons. Purport. According to the opinion of experienced medical practitioners, diabetes is a result of voracious eating, and tuberculosis is a disease of undereating. We should desire neither to be diabetic nor to be tubercular. Yavat artha prayojanam. We should eat frugally and keep the body fit for advancing in Krishna consciousness. As recommended elsewhere in Srimad-Bhagavatam 1-10, Kamasya nindriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narto yascheha karmi bihi. The real business of human life is to keep oneself fit for advancement in spiritual realization. Human life is not meant for making the senses unnecessarily strong so that one suffers from disease and one increases in an envious fighting spirit. In this age of Kali, however, human civilization is so misled that people are unnecessarily increasing in economic development. And as a result, they are opening more and more slaughterhouses, liquor shops, and brothels. In this way, the whole civilization is being spoiled. Text 17. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with saintly persons, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Purport. It is said, Mahad vichalanam nrinam grihinam dina chetasam, Bhagavatam 10:8-4. The only business of a saintly person or sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, is to preach Krishna consciousness. Sadhus, saintly persons, want to preach to both the poor and the rich. But the poor take more advantage of the sadhu's preaching than the rich do. A poor man receives sadhus very quickly, offers them obeisances, and tries to take advantage of their presence, whereas a rich man keeps a big greyhound dog at his door. so that no one can enter his house. He posts a sign saying, "Beware of dog," and avoids the association of saintly persons. Whereas a poor man keeps his door open for them and thus benefits by their association more than a rich man does. Because Narada Muni in his previous life was the poverty-stricken son of a maidservant, he got the association of saintly persons and later became the exalted Narada Muni. This was his actual experience. Therefore, he is now comparing the position of a poor man with that of a rich man. Satam prasangan mama virya sambido bhavanti rit karna rasayana kataha yaj tajjo shanad asha vavarga vartmani shraddha ritir bhaktir anukramishati. Bhagavatam 3:25. If one gets the advantage of association with saintly persons by their instructions, one becomes more and more purified of material desires. And it's very important, this verse, he didn't translate it, but Rit Karna Rasayanagata. He gets the opportunity to get a taste for hearing about Krishna. Krishna Bahir Mukha Haya Boga Bancha Kare Nikatastamaya Tare Japitiya Dare Prema Vivarta. Material life means that one forgets Krishna and that one increases in one's desires for sense gratification. But if one receives the advantage of instructions from saintly persons and forgets the importance of material desires, one is automatically purified. Cheto darpanam arjunam, baba maha davagni nirvapanam. Unless the core of a materialistic person's heart is purified, he cannot get rid of the pangs of bhava maha davagni, the blazing fire of material existence. Text 18. Saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? Purport. A sadhu is one who is engaged in devotional service to the Lord without deviation. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. Titikshava karunika. Suridat sarvadehinam. Ajata shatravakshanta. Sadhava sadhabhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Bhagavatam 3:25-21. A sadhu is Suridat Sarvadehinam, the friend of everyone. Why should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their Why then should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their valuable time in association with other rich men who are averse to spiritual life? Both the poor man and the rich man can take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement. And the rich man can take advantage of, and here it is advised that everyone do so. Both the poor man and the rich man can take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, and here it is advised that everyone do so. There is no profit in avoiding the association of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. Narottam Das Thakur has said, Satsanga chadi kainu asate bilas, te karani lagi laye, karma bandha palans. If we give up association of sadhus, if we give up the association of sadhus, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. The word asat refers to an avaishnava, one who is not a devotee of Krishna, and sat refers to a Vaishnava, Krishna's devotee. One should always seek the association of Vaishnavas and not spoil one's life by mixing with Avaishnavas. In Bhagavad Gita 7:15, the distinction between Vaishnava and Avaishnava is enunciated. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama mayaya paritagyana asuram bhavam ashritaha. Anyone who is not surrendered to Krishna is a most sinful person, duskriti, a rascal, mudha, and the lowest of men, naradama. Therefore, one should not avoid the association of Vaishnavas, which are now available all over the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. Text 19. Therefore, since these two persons, drunk with the liquor named Varuni or Madhvi, are unable to control their senses, having been blinded by the pride of celestial opulence, and have become attached to women, I shall relieve them of their false prestige. Purport. When a sadhu chastises or punishes someone, he does not do so for revenge. Maharaj Parikshit had inquired why Narada Muni was subject to such a spirit of revenge, tamaha. But this was not tamaha, for Narada Muni, in full knowledge of what was good, of what was for the good of the two brothers, wisely thought of how to cure them. Vaishnavas are good physicians. I shall repeat that for the benefit of everyone present. Vaishnavas are good physicians. They know how to protect a person from material disease. Thus they are never in tamaguna. Sagunan samatityaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Vaishnavas are always situated on the transcendental platform, the Brahman platform. They cannot be subject to mistakes or the influence of the modes of material nature. Whatever they do, after full consideration, is meant just to lead everyone back home, back to Godhead. Text 20 to 22. These two young men, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Kuvera. But because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked but cannot understand that they are. Therefore, because they are living like trees, for trees are naked but are not conscious, these two young men should receive the bodies of trees. This will be proper punishment. Nonetheless, after they become trees and until they are released, by my mercy, they will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years by the measurement of the demigods, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, face to face, and thus revive their real position as devotees. Purport: a tree has no consciousness. When cut, it feels no pain. But Narada Muni wanted the consciousness of Nalakuvara and Manigriva to continue, so that even after being released from the life of trees, they would not forget the circumstances under which they had been punished. Therefore, to bestow upon them special favor, Narada Muni arranged things in such a way that after being released, they would be able to see Krishna in Vrindavan and thus revive their dormant bhakti. Each day of the demigods in the upper planetary system equals 6 months of our measurement. Although the demigods in the upper planetary system are attached to material enjoyment, they are all devotees, and therefore they are called demigods. There are 2 kinds of persons, namely the devas and the asuras. Asuras forget their relationship with Krishna, asuram bhavam ashritaha, whereas the devas do not forget. Dvau bhuta sargau loke smin, daiva asura evacha, Vishnu bhakta smito daiva, asuras tad viparya yaha. Padma Purana. The distinction between a pure devotee and a karma mishra devotee is this. A pure devotee does not desire anything for material enjoyment, whereas a mixed devotee becomes a devotee to become a first-class enjoyer of this material world. One who is in direct touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service remains pure, uncontaminated by material desires. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam. Bhakti Prasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11. By karma mishra bhakti, one is elevated to the celestial kingdom. By jnana mishra bhakti, one is able to merge into the Brahman effulgence. And by yoga mishra bhakti, one is able to realize the omnipotency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But pure bhakti does not depend on karma, jnana, or yoga, for it simply consists of loving affairs. The liberation of the bhakta, therefore, which is called not just mukti but vimukti, surpasses the 5 other kinds of liberation: sayuja, sarupya, salokya, sarshti, and samipya. A pure devotee always engages in pure service. Anukulina krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. Taking birth in the upper planetary system as a demigod is a chance to become a further purified devotee and go back home, back to Godhead. Narada Muni indirectly gave Manigriva and Nalakuvara the greatest opportunity by his so-called curse. And we'll stop there for tonight. Hare Krishna. Beautiful, sobering instructions and realizations about what this material world is. Okay, open mic time. It's your turn, guys. Yes, Pranahari. Thank you.
I took a few notes. I liked when Prabhupada said everything spiritual and material depends on one's consciousness. In regard to even the Ganga, taking a bath in the Ganga could be, for the Nalakuvara and Manigriva, it was degrading them actually. And it reminded me of the verse, I don't remember the Sanskrit, but it's a famous one. Krishna tells the sages at Kurukshetra about the one who goes to the pilgrimage site only to take a bath is no better than an ass or cow. So it could be a mundane...
Seva Gokura, yeah.
Seva Gokura, yeah. And so I just really think that's important because once again, we all go through the bhakti rules and regulations and daily schedule and everything, but if our consciousness is elsewhere, then, it could be actually a material thing.
Yes.
Whereas someone in, say, Grihastha ashram, even working a job, having family, which is, is externally more materially entangling, but depending on their consciousness, could be spiritual thing.
Possible.
Mm-hmm.
Possible. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Rare, but possible.
I also like the point about Prabhupada said the way you can tell tell the quality of a person is he or is he not a devotee of Lord Krishna.
Yes.
And I thought that was a nice yardstick, because especially in the beginning, we heard a lot about sadhu sangha and how important it is for devotee association. So in the beginning, it's really important to know that who to associate with, and if he's a devotee, I'll associate. If he's not, then I won't. So I think that's an important thing, especially in the beginning of one's Krishna consciousness.
There's another point that I think maybe I might add a little bit to that last point, and that is that we may not associate, but we should not disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, Rupa Goswami describes one of the things that one should not do in order to be able to actually execute or enter into Bhakti Yoga is not to disrespect the demigods, even though we know that they're sense enjoyers and we don't worship them as gods, but we give them respect because they are empowered personalities to do service to Krishna at a very high level. So we may not, associate with persons who are not pure devotees, but we don't disrespect them. We offer them respect, but from a distance. We don't go and intimately associate with them, because then we'll become contaminated with that. If we associate, who we associate with, it goes to the same point about our consciousness. When we go out and distribute books or go out to preach, we meet all kinds of people and mix with them. But we're not mixing them in order to let their association come to us. We're giving our association to them, especially with Prabhupada's books. Give the pure devotee their association. There again, it's the consciousness. If you're out there and you're not doing that, whoa, you'll get swept away really easily and really quickly. Therefore, the sadhana is very important, and the association of the sadhus is essential. Root, it's the root. There's that verse, Mula. It has the word Mula, and I can't remember the Bengali, but there's a verse that says that the association of more advanced devotees than oneself is the root cause of devotional life, devotional service. Even if one is an advanced devotee, it's still essential to associate with like-minded, elevated Vaishnavas. Prabhupada used to joke. He had his hand in his bead bag. He said, "See, I've got my hand in my bead bag too. It's not that, everyone is in this movement is taking to the same process. It's not that one is sitting up somewhere, counting the cash with his, bead bag hanging on the hook and not worried about it. Not like that. And the ones who are actually bona fide, they're chanting more and more, and they like to chant more and more and hear more and more. That's the test. And that was another point that was made throughout the beginning of the first part of the chapter.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
We heard about this phrase, we heard a lot about the core of the heart being purified. I think Prabhupada said it at least twice in these purports. And, that's a pretty deep thing, the core of the heart purified of these desires for prestige and material affection. And, when I hear that, I think, okay, I have to take to this process much more seriously. And when I noticed when other devotees have heard that, they maybe they don't It doesn't ring the bell like it does for me. Like that sentence strikes me whenever I hear it. But I had a conversation with a devotee, and they said that it's that actually we can't purify our hearts. The core of the heart can only be purified by Krishna, which is true. But then I noticed that produces kind of the sense of complacency, that it's not up to me, it's up to Krishna when he wants to purify the core of my heart. And then they don't put in the serious effort of sadhana. So I'm curious, what is the disconnect? Because I know that they're not mutually exclusive points, that endeavoring hard for sadhana.
Well, firstly, you have to know what the core of the heart is.
Yes.
What is the core of the heart? It means what we're actually thinking. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudatma mityacharsa uchate. You're just thinking up here, it's not going to the core. Core is what we're really thinking. That's another meaning of the word core of the heart. What you're really thinking, not just superficially. Karmendriyani samyamya asti manasasman. You may look like you're like renounced. You may be acting like you're renounced. But if in your mind you're thinking about sense gratification, that's what it means by the core of the heart. And then what indriyartan vimudatma, the word vimudatma is very specific. It means self-deluded. Vimudatma. Muda means foolish, and vimuda means very foolish. It means self-deluded. It means one's deluding oneself by acting one way and thinking another way. And what does that mean? Mityacharasa uchate.
Can you say it again, please?
Mityacharasa uchate. It means indriyardhan vimudatma means that one is self-deluded. Mudha means foolish, and vimuda means heavier kind of foolishness, where one is deluding oneself. One's acting outside like he's renounced, and everybody's, you're this and you're that. But inside he's actually looking for the objects of sense gratification. And vimudatma, he's deluded, self-deluded, and therefore mityacharasuche means pretender. So core of the heart means free of pretension. Otherwise you get into this esoteric, the core in the heart. You read these poets, the cave, the heart cave, and there's going to be some kind of, deep inside some cave with little souls there, and But in a sense, what you said was correct, or what that devotee said, that we don't have the core of the heart is pure. The soul is pure. The soul never becomes contaminated. Nainam chindani shastrani, nainam dahari pavaka, nachaidam kalaryantyapur, nasho shaiti marata. The soul can't be burned by fire, can't be cut by weapons, can't be withered by the wind, and can't be wet by water. So, how's he going to become contaminated? The soul doesn't, but the contamination that surrounds the soul, and closer you get to the soul, it's the closer you get to the heart, to the cave, to the core. Well, it's about time. Hare Krishna. Who's your friend? Have you met him yet? Christian. Did I meet you once before?
No, it's my first time.
First time? Well, congratulations. Happy to see you.
Excited.
Thank you. We're talking about the core of the heart and what it means, the core of the heart. Because there's different, we act on different planes of existence. Some of us are acting on the sensual or the gross physical plane. We're looking to satisfy our senses. And then some are a little more subtle than that, and they're looking to understand things, searching for truth, tell the difference between what is real pleasure and all of that. And then the yogis, they're even on the intellectual plane. They're trying to get perfection by more intense, deep understanding and manipulation of the airs of the body, and finding the soul and moving the soul from one place to another so it becomes, eventually can leave from here instead of from here or from there. and choose where it wants to go. It's possible by yogic perfections. But the soul is beyond all of those things. The soul wants pure devotional service to God. That's his identity. It's his eternal identity, is a servant of God, servant of Krishna. And not just servant of God in a general sense, but Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with a certain form and a certain personality and a certain likes and dislikes and certain abilities to associate with us in relationship. So as one goes closer to the soul, to the spiritual platform, what is that verse? Indriyani paranyahur, indriye padamana, manasastu pada buddhir, yobude padatastasa. The mind is higher than the senses, the intelligence is higher than the mind, and the soul is higher than the intelligence, and the super soul is higher than the soul. Evam buddhi padam buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana jayi shatru mahabaho yayidam daryate jagat. This is the last verse in the 3rd chapter of the Gita. Where Krishna says, Evam buddhi padam buddhva samstadvyatmanam atmana jahi shatru mahabaho kamarupa durasadam. Thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. That's the core of the heart. That's the core of the heart. Purifying the core of the heart to, become free from lust, attachment to material energy. Please, Jair.
So we were reading here that, or was it a poverty-stricken man, by association with a saintly person, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. So I just wanted to add that since I started coming here and seeing everyone and coming to the book readings, what just naturally happens just by becoming involved, just by hearing, just by seeing these people. I get excited to come here, and even the first, second, third time, it builds momentum. I just get more and more excited, and more that I hear. And the thing that happens outside of this temple even is, I can't even. I look up at the sky and I'm like, wow, I thought I was in the real world when I was working. You get all this. You're in high school. It's like, wait till you get to the real world, and then you're sitting in a cubicle and you're like, oh, is this the real world? Because I feel like I'm a mouse trapped in a cage, actually. Because this doesn't feel like the real world. And then you get here, and then all of a sudden you hear all this, and you're like, wait a minute, what? This is great. This is beautiful. I could see so far now. It's endless. And I was trapped in a cage at one point, sitting like a little mouse, blind of all this. So it was really by association, just coming here, seeing y'all, hearing it, and it says it over and over again. And I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into. and it just happened.
Jainger,
Next thing
you
you know,
do this. You just did the same thing you did last time you were here. You signed me up.
No.
Sign me up.
I wasn't going.
I'm signing the contract. If you can do that to me, I mean, what can you do to just anybody? I mean, we're hoping that you're talking yourself into it.
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I said this before you actually was, maybe, anyway, I can't remember exactly when I said it, but the fact is that there's so many people out there doing so many things. There's so many doctors, there's so many lawyers, there's so many engineers, there's so many techies, there's so many computer scientists. Now it's getting into who knows what, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
God, who knows what's going to happen then. If you think we're contaminated now, my God, it's like, but hardly anyone is actually trying to wake people up spiritually. Hardly anyone is giving actual spiritual. I mean, some of the statements that Prabhupada made in those translations to those purports, even the way he translates the Sanskrit is so direct and so powerful and penetrating that you can't get the wrong idea. You get these translations of these so-called pseudo philosophers and spiritualists. And before I joined, I was going to UCLA, and there was this one famous kind of philosopher. His name was Alan Watts. You may have heard of him. Well, he came to UCLA, and so, I was, curious, and I was looking. So I went to see him, and sure enough, the philosophy was, if you can't understand what the guy says, then you better study him, because that means he's more intelligent than you are. That was the philosophy. Sure enough, went to the thing, didn't understand a word. The guy sounded, it was just gibberish, So I said, well, maybe give me. And then he invited anybody who wanted to ask questions to go backstage in the green room, they called it. And so I said, okay, I'll go. Within 15 minutes, he had pulled out of his a flask, and he started chugging, I don't know what, I think it was gin, whatever it was. Yeah. And within less than half an hour, he was just soused. He was hearing his words, and it was so obvious. I mean, it was like a transcendental experience, because at first we were thinking, because he was, he was speaking thoughts that I couldn't understand, therefore he must be higher than me. But then I understood that this guy's it's a lush, Didn't understand what he was saying. It was just gibberish, But the human society has fallen so far that they can't see beyond their nose, actually. So therefore, Prabhupada's teachings and Prabhupada's association is very strong. It's very strong medicine, because we need strong medicine, because we are contaminated by so many things, like deep lust. Now they was mentioning the gambling, and now they have these huge rooms with, like big, just to gamble on the sports. It's just, it's a disease. It's like everywhere now. And therefore, and when you gamble, you lose the ability to be honest. Because why? Because you're trying to get something for nothing. Nobody gets something for nothing. That's against the law of nature. Everybody gets what they work for, sincerely. And if you're not honest, if you lose your sense of honesty, how are you going to hear the truth when it's in front of you? So, okay, at first it seems like it's like a big kind of thing. It's a big sacrifice, or it's a big austerity, But when you hang out with us and just hear and chant and go out and try to help people and absorb yourself in this life, you become so happy. You can't. I mean, when I look back, I can't even see it anymore. What I was like before. It's like in a fog somewhere. It's 47 years ago, Baba. 47. Who's over 47 in this room? Who's over 47 in this room? Really? Old soul? I see. seeing previous lifetimes. But it's a long time, and after a while, if you just put enough distance between you and those things become no longer real.
I think we could all well, I'd like to speak for my part personally. So many times that we get riled up in just small material things. Anything could happen in your life, and it happens to everyone. And we get so riled up that we create like this fog in our head, and just it clouds up all of our thoughts. And then next thing we do, we open up our mouths, and it's at the wrong person. You're somewhere completely different from where you were before, and now you're spreading something that you made up. You made this cloud in your head.
Jayato Vishyang Pungsa Sangasteshu Prajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Krodo Vijayate Krodad Bhavati Samoha Samohat Smriti Vibrama Smriti Brangshad Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashati. What you just said in your own words are these verses. Shall I?
Please.
You're gonna like follow it, right?
If I'm not, shaking any more than I already am.
I got an appointment with you in 2 minutes.
I keep getting epiphany after epiphany over here. I don't know how many I can handle. My ribs are shaking. I wish you could feel them.
Jayato Vishyang Pungsa Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodo Pajayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. Of course, frustration's in between there. Krodad bhavati samoha, samohat smriti vibrama, smriti bangshad buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashati. From anger, complete delusion arises. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. What's the sound when you throw a rock into a pool? Bloop, bloop. Yeah. There you go. So when we were new devotees, the first devotee who got problems and went out, we said he blooped. Because we went to this verse and we read that and he said, this must be what's happening now. He just blooped. Bloop. What's the verse? Go ahead, do it again. Do it again.
Somebody please take the... Okay, look, I'm taking
Mystical.
Mystical.
It's mystical. You know, Rati Manjari, she sent me this. She did these 2 photos during the thing, and one of them was your face, and the other one was mine. I was going like this, and you were going like whatever you were doing, your face, and it was like pictures worth 1,000 words.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I wish I could hear how fast my heart.
No, this is spiritual realization.
Is it really?
Yes,
This is what it is?
Yes, it's spiritual realization. When you hear the truth, When you actually hear the truth, it goes through the ear, through the mind, through the intelligence, and it goes down to here. That's what we were talking about. The core of the heart. The heart of the core. Yeah. 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 That's spiritual realization. It's a symptom. It's called shadow attachment. Rupa Goswami says it's shadow attachment. It's an attachment that's actually there in you, but it's reflected from somebody who's actually tasting it, and you're getting that reflection, and then you're tasting it.
I've only seen the Republic. Like, I think maybe a few times in my life, but they weren't like, they were of my remnants of my childhood.
I'm telling you, Jair, your words and the way you put together your words are very powerful. You know, and you're just getting just the first glimpse. So just imagine seeing the whole thing. That shaking can come to the point where tears will just pour out of your eyes, and you will go like this. When I first touched 2 of Srila Prabhupada's books, which I got from 2 different separate sources, completely impossible. I was living on top of a mountain of 100 people, village. I had moved out of human society. I was trying to get out of the madding world, as they said. And I had my little, library of spiritual books, and I was reading all the same things. Just last night, this devotee was talking about what was his name? Nick. He's talking about the Egyptian this or Egyptian that. I was reading all those things, A to Z. This little library, and I was going through them systematically. And my landlady, who I had met once in my life, she was 70 years old, Christian mystic. Her name was Hope. And she was living on top of that mountain for the same reason I was, trying to get away from the madness. She went down off the mountain because you couldn't get everything you needed. And so you had to go down off the mountain to a town to get provisions. So she would go down once a month and get provisions. So when she was down there, this was 1972, she met a devotee on the parking lot of this little, out of the way place, Bakersfield, California. At that time it was a postage stamp, and offered her a book and a magazine. And she had no interest whatsoever. She was completely, fully committed Christian, And then she thought of me, out of the blue, maybe he'd like this. And she got it, rang my doorbell, and gave it me right. And I think this is for you. I said, thanks a lot, Hope. Hope was her name, Hope. I'm telling, this is the truth. True story. And I put it at the end, I didn't look at it. I put it at the end of that, little library I had of books. A week later, my wife, I was married at the time, came back from the interior of Mexico, not the beach towns, not the border towns where all the nonsense goes on. We were culture, we were different, In a used bookstore, right, in the interior of Mexico in 1972, she found one book in the English language, Bhagavad Gita as it is. She said, maybe he'd like this. He's into these strange things. She didn't have any idea what I was doing. She's a simple girl, no idea. So she got it. She brought it back, put it next to the book, didn't look at it, put it right next to because I was going systematically. By that time I was working night times, just to make ends meet, right? So I took the books, put them in a bag. I thought, I'll look at these books when I go to work, because, it's graveyard shift. Nobody was around. The sun was just starting to come, but probably it was Brahma Muhurta, actually. Anyway, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but I took these books out and I looked at them, and it was the same author. And I've been praying like anything. I just started going like this. Tears came pouring out of my eyes. Just like, that's why I connect with you, because I had that same experience. And everything changed. And I looked, I had another Gita, but it was Isherwood, Christopher Isherwood. It was about this thin, poetry, said nothing. All poetry, poetic language, didn't say anything. And I was looking through it to see if there was any differences. and I came to this verse. And this was the abridged version. Not all the verses were purported, you know? But this one was. And it was 9:2. And I got to the end of the purport. By this time I was like unconscious. Seriously. Unconscious meaning intoxicated, spiritually intoxicated. And then Prabhupada said, Thus the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. That's it. I was a devotee.
Sold.
Never met a devotee, never no contact, just that. And a few days later, I don't remember exactly how many days, it was a few days later, my friend and I got the magazine out, and I said, look, Clint, I said, we talked about these things a lot. I said, something just happened that was out of this world. We got to find more about this. Okay, so the magazine, the cover of the magazine was the LA Temple, which was billed as the world headquarters of the Hare Krishna movement. I didn't know Hare Krishna movement, nothing. So then, but we didn't like LA. If you've been there, you know why. Yeah, so we liked San Francisco. It was cool. It was more cool. the city, So we went 500 miles out of our 400 hour way. And we got to the address that was in the magazine, and it was boarded up. It was boarded up. There was nothing there. It was like a laundry, what do they call that? Laundromat. It was like a laundromat, closed laundromat, or something like that. It turns out that they moved about a year before. It took a while for the magazine to get to us. And so I thought, my God, we came all this way, and it's a dead end. What's going on? Then I looked down the street, and there was a devotee passing out magazines. So I ran up to him. Krita Karma was his name. And I said, Hare Krishna, because I had read Hare Krishna in the book. He went, I didn't look like Hare Krishna, believe me. And he said, and I was carrying that Gita in my hands. And he said, oh, you must have come to hear Srila Prabhupada speak tonight. Yeah, Prabhupada arrived on the same day. So within 3-4 hours, I was sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada. And he's so humble that when you read this book, there's nothing in this book that says, I am your spiritual master. Not once does he use those terms. Not once. He's just pointing to Krishna and that you must have a spiritual master. So I thought, I'm going to find a spiritual master. And then I saw him. I fell on the floor, spontaneously, on the floor. Same thing, tears, shaking like this. This is my spiritual master. And I never looked back. 47 years ago. So it's real. It's real, Jair. You've come to preach Krishna consciousness. You've done it before, and the way you form your words and the effect it has on your own heart as well as others is obvious. And I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. It's a big deal. You got a trajectory, life's trajectory. It may be controversial with friends and family or whatever, but hey, the situation is urgent. The world is going down the toilet, now, big time. And it's needed. Krishna consciousness is needed. Never before has it been needed so much. And there's something similar to what's going on now that went on when I joined in the late 60s, early 70s in America. The counterculture started there, you know, and we were up to here with the hypocrisy, the wars, it was just too much for us. So we rebelled, and then Prabhupada came. Just right at the, I mean, you couldn't have written a script better. He just, boom, came right in there, and we were like, but we were all free, everything. We wouldn't want to hear anything about rule or regulation. Are you kidding? We were up to here with it, you know. And he started speaking these heavy words that we're listening, and we just heard it. We understood things just by hearing from his mouth that would take thousands and thousands of years of austerities to understand, to take the normal path of spiritual life. That's the truth. So look, I'm looking for the needles in the haystack. I'm a specialist. You know, it's a fact that we need, you know, big preaching programs and big kirtans and all those things. We need those things. But there are some who are meant to come and join this movement and preach and help others come out of illusion. You're one of them. I'm telling you. Now we're into our appointment. We're 15 minutes into our appointment. We don't even have to go to my room. We're having our appointment right here in front of everybody. So I know what I'm saying. I know how heavy this is, these words to you. Very heavy. But that experience that you're having, that taste that you're getting, that's taking you out of material consciousness, that can give you a taste, that can give you clear vision and clear spiritual experience. That's what we need. We need a spiritual experience, and then it becomes real to us. But those things are very rare. Even among the devotees I know, even among the God brothers I know, very few came that quick, in that way, and never looked back. It's not easy. It hasn't been a bed of roses. It's not easy. But the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is so valuable, you cannot imagine. It's worth anything. It's worth giving up anything and everything.
Can you put your fingers on it? Like you can't. It's not something that you.
And yet, it's the most tangible thing you've ever experienced. You can't put your finger on it, and yet it's the most tangible thing you've ever experienced.
Fireworks and explosions in my brain right now. Crazy. But honestly, I even premeditated the things that the predicaments that I've thought about. Even on the way over here, I was thinking, if I get too involved, I'm not a preacher. I don't want to preach, and I never want to convince anything to anyone that they didn't agree to being convinced of. But I honestly like I can't say no. Like, this is amazing. What am I gonna lie to my brain, my heart, and my whole body and soul as a being, as a whole?
Yeah.
Am I gonna and I know now, walking away and continuing on with whatever it is I was doing before, it's ignorant. It's just, I mean, once you see something, you can't unsee it. How do I, really like?
Start writing things down, buddy. Start writing things down, because you're gonna come up with some real gems. You're coming up with some real gems already.
Jeez.
You can't unring a bell. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once it's come out of the tube, that's it. It's that because it's so satisfying. I can't believe it. I'm going to go to India, England, and then India, day after tomorrow. And I just knew this was going to happen. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Okay. Narada Muni ki jai. Nalikavar and Managrivi ki jai. Sri Krishna ki jai. Courtyard of Nanda Maharaj ki jai. Twin Arjun trees ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. See you tomorrow night, same place, same station. Wait, tomorrow's Saturday. Okay, 4:30. Change the time, same place, same station. Hare Krishna. See you there. Hare Bol.